Greetings and welcome to an Equity Guru Investor Roundtable. I'm Rob with my friend Galen here in the basement down there. He's making brownies. Chris is up over there in the corner, and in the gold vault is Vishal. I get to sing like Burl Ives today, kids. I know you've been waiting for that again. It's
Deep cut.
Silver and gold from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It's actually silver, gold, zinc, and lead. It's Northern Lights. They're based in Vancouver. They have some operations that the folks here are going to tell you about. They're not pumping out the value on the stock market at the moment, but that's okay. It's who's our buddy there? Jason Bonson's the CEO and director, and they're traded on the Canadian exchange NLR, Northern Lights Resources. Vishal.
For sure, Rob. Yeah, NLR.C. And Northern Lights is an early stage junior explorer that's been a bit quiet for the past few months, but things are starting to pick up now. The company has cash and they are releasing some catalysts, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Two assets. They have the Secret Pass gold project, which is in Arizona. This one is 100% owned by the company. They've done some early assays in 2021. They found some gold. They found actually a wide mineralization of gold pretty close to the surface. So we do know that there is something there. The big question is how much gold is there at the Secret Pass project in Arizona? And in a few days' time, we're supposed to be hearing basically the next drill campaign at Secret Pass. Likely going to take place later on this year or early next year. But that's a catalyst to look forward to. But as of now, there is a drill program ongoing, and that is at the Medicine Springs project, which is in Nevada, and it is silver, zinc, and lead. The drills are turning as we speak, and this is a project that's not 100% owned by Northern Lights Resources. It's a joint venture with a company called Reyna Silver Corp. And they are doing a 5,000 to 7,000 drill program there as we speak. And that's the catalyst that we're looking forward to in the next few days. What are they going to find when the drills, I guess, churn up?
In my transition to Chris, I want to ask this question. Given the value of their stock, is penny stock still a term that's used, or is that considered derogatory and out of usage? Because it would be considered in that category, would it not?
I mean, it's often considered predatory, but it's or sorry, not predatory, but like derogatory.
Well, it depends on which side
predatory
you're
as well.
on.
Very true enough. Look, this is one of those cases where 80% of the companies on the stock market are worth this same market cap, right? They're at 0.5%. And nothing's happening, nothing's going to happen, and they're just going to exist until there's no money left. Northern Lights is the contraindicator to that, in that all you need to do is really just look at the share chart. Now, the upper part of the share chart doesn't show you anything much. It's a sub 5-cent stock. But what you want to look at is the volume over September, October. The last 6 weeks, this thing has been trading up and down, but trading in much larger numbers than has been happening for, if I look back over the last 5 years, 10 years, since the beginning of this stock's creation, for the most part, it was a very unvolatile, very untraded stock up until the last 6 weeks, in which case it's been going in and out. They've just done a raise, closed the raise. We took part in that raise, full disclosure. And the reason why we did is pretty simple. It's a $500,000 market cap company that has working gold, working ore projects. If we could see that there was nothing happening here, it'd make no sense to put any money into it. But there's active work happening here. Now, not all trading is positive trading. It's definitely in 2022, it's had a down day or two, most assuredly. But for a $500,000 market cap, basically you're buying into promise. Will this thing one day put out news that says drill results are back and there's some stuff? And if it does, if it is positive results, if there's positive news, and there's every indication to show that these companies actually working the plot, $500,000 market cap makes 0 cents, like 0 cents. So those that have seen what we've been talking about with Northern Dynasty, much larger company, like much further along, much bigger projects. But in that similar sort of vein of they've hit a stop sign. And if nothing happens and they just stay where they are, well, they're sitting on a project that's worth a lot more money than the market cap. On the other hand, if something positive happens, if they get some positive news of any kind, you would expect that the stock from where it is would go on an absolute rampage. Now, I would expect the same thing here with Northern Lights, Northern Dynasty, Northern Lights.
Yeah.
Not a struck match between them, except when you look at the market cap, which is completely different. So the fundamentals on Northern Lights are you've got 25 million shares out and at a current share price of 2.5 cents. Like that is a tiny little market cap, which means that, if someone decides they want to get out of their stake and there's not a lot of trading happening, you go from 2.5 cents down to 2 cents without too much trouble. And technically you will have lost 20% value. On the other hand, it could go from 2.5 cents to 3.5 cents, in which case you've just made a big killing. So I always have a piece of my portfolio anchored in sub 5 cent companies that are actively doing work. And that's been a really good trade for me over the years. The downside is they don't find anything, in which case it's pretty much, a 50% shave off your investment. But if they do anything, if they get this thing to a point where there's any positivity, well, they're not restricted by just being able to double. It can double, triple, quadruple, centuple, a centuruple, like whatever the word is for 100x. There's no upward end. The downward end is you could lose everything, right? So you go from 100% to 0. The upward side is you go from 100% to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 1,000%. Now, it won't always work that way. They may stick the jaws in the ground and have all the best intentions, and they come up with chalk dust and fresh air. But chances are it's not going to be that way. Chances are that they know enough about the property that they know why they're going in. They have a pretty decent idea that there's something where they think it's going. And even if they don't hit bonanza, they know more with every draw result about where they should be going next to zero in on the sweet spot. So this is a very early stage. This is like betting on a horse in the maiden handicap, right? There's no results to go on. All you got is the jockey and the smiles on the faces of the guys that own the horse.
And the colors of the silk.
And if they win this one, then great. You bet them on the next one and the next one. They ain't going to win the Grand National necessarily. To get the Grand National, you got to win the next 40 races. But for now, what we're really looking at is, can they win the maiden handicap? Can they show some results and go from a $500,000 company to, let's say, a $2.5 million company? If they do, that's a 4x for you. You've made your money back 4 times. And now your decision is, do I let it ride, or do I make another bet, or do I pull my stakes from the table? So, there's everything we could talk about technically on Northern Lights. It is, at this point, it is a game of poker. And, you've just had the first flip. That's all you got to look at right now. Do you think that it's good enough to get through to the next hand? I think that there's enough there. And I certainly, having talked to the guys behind it, believe that they believe that there's something there. So that's good enough for me to throw some cash down.
It's Northern Lights Resources at NLR on the Canadian Exchange. Go ahead real quick.
I was just going to back up Chris there. It's all about probabilities.
I don't get to talk. Is that what's going
on?
on?
You get to go, but he had a comment. He had a comment.
Just had a quick comment. I was just going to back Chris up saying that, it's all about the probabilities, and, yes, they could maybe drill nothing, but there is some historical, past drill results that have brought up things, and there's definitely something there. So I think, there's a probability. It's not like you're just throwing your money into something. There's definitely a probability here, and management sees something in these projects too.
And winning this race is relatively easy. Can you pull up some data? That's the race. And if you pull up some data that's reasonably positive, now you go into the next races. Can we find better? Can we find more? And then the next race is, can we raise a bit of money so we can go deeper still? This is all about the next 3 months. And the company is doing the work to make sure that they're at least in the race, not to torture the story.
Jeez, Galen. I guess you finally get to
go on, Galen. Follow that.
Sets. Come on, buddy. What do you got?
Well, after that voluminous, no, I'm just kidding. It was a good contribution. as Chris has stated, this is a very early stage company, and it is in the penny stock region, which lends itself to a couple of things, which is high volatility. But at that point, you also, if you don't risk a lot, you don't necessarily risk everything that you own. You have to consider this as a gambler, as Chris said. You're sitting in as a poker table. But this isn't a game right now, as Chris had mentioned, that they are going to pull something out of the ground and start pouring bars. This isn't what we're talking about right now. This is a game of news flow, right? Right now, you're investing in management and possibility. And right now, the management's pretty experienced. We're talking 30 years, pretty well at least, every one of them in their differing capacities. The one in charge, CEO and director, Jason Bonson, I should say, has about 30 years in mining finance and operations. He's got his hands dirty and he knows how to talk to people to get money. So this is a good thing. You don't want some bright-eyed and bushy-tailed dude saying, look, there's something in the ground. I maybe know some guys. I might be able to raise some cash. You want to know that it's tried and true. And when somebody says something is there, you can trust that it's going to be there, that they have some experience in geology and they know what they're doing in the region, because geology varies all over the world. So they understand the region, they understand what their deposit's going to be. These guys seem to be playing that game. Now, at 3 cents, when you throw in, you're probably not going to throw in the kitchen sink. You're probably going to put a little taster in and see how it goes. But as Chris said, the upside can be phenomenal. You're just waiting now for news, for them to turn up something. Now, this company has already done something to narrow their focus, which is good, because you don't want a company this size to be spread too thinly. They've actually narrowed their focus on their property. I'm trying to remember the Secret Pass property. Is that correct?
Pass, yeah.
Yeah, they've narrowed the Secret Pass property down to a few targets. They're not wasting their time on other areas. They've actually cut back their costs, and they're also cutting back their costs of exploration by doing such. And they're also, as I said, centering on places that have high probability of proving that there is resources under the ground. These are the news pieces, and this is going to happen within the next 3 to 6 months. So this is something you can hold on to, and at the end of that 3 to 6 months, you can figure out whether this is something you want to go further with, because you've already made your cash on bringing stuff in terms of data to the public, because that makes this company worthwhile. And as Chris had mentioned, even if they don't find anything right now, the historical data that comes out of these properties still gives them enough value to make sure that this company is actually worth what it is. I mean, it's pretty cheap compared to what it's holding on to.
Oh, yeah.
So there
I
you
mean,
go.
God, if they sold the trucks, if they sold the four-wheel drive and a condo in Surrey, you've got an arbitrage situation at this market cap. I was just on their website looking at the photo galleries of their projects, and hey, let's be clear. You ain't buying a whole bunch of machinery and trucks and 75 people workforces here. There's no gigantic bulldozer. There's literally like old mine workings that they've got on top of here. So, you're not going to buy in on this on a $500,000 market cap and sell it for $12 million tomorrow. It is early stage. Now, but the beauty of early stage is if you spin up a winner, the returns are immense. This is why people get into mining, right? It's not something where you're just like, well, tell me about your revenues per month and your monthly average users. No, there's a picture of a rock with a hammer next to it, right? There's a picture of some scrubs, some guys in t-shirts that look like they haven't had a drink for a while. An old wooden frame that used to be a pulley that would drop people down a hole in the ground. Like it's pretty prehistoric sort of artifacts right now. But what you're buying into is the opportunity for a team with experience that have looked at the previous data that's been of what's been pulled out of these mines, has looked at the surrounding nature, and has picked away at some rocks and has thought, you know what, there's enough here for us to spend the next few years of our lives focused on digging shit out of the ground and exploring what's in it. And this is a Discovery Channel mine at this point, right? Yep. And so for me, that's golden. I mean, no pun intended, because I don't want to get in there once everything's been found, because then it'll be a $25 million market cap, which means that 50 times my money's already been gapped by somebody else. I want to be there right now where it's worth zero, where you're basically getting free stock. If I invest a few $1,000s in this thing and come back in 6 months, I'll either have $1,000 out of the 2,000 left and probably lose 500 cashing it in, or the kids go to a better school.
Wow. I like it. It's a good
There's
summation.
no in between.
What's happening with the, how did we get to where we are right now there, Tech Man, with the stocky walkie?
Yep, for sure, Rob. Just quickly, Reyna Silver, you know that joint venture that Northern Lights have with Reyna Silver on the current project that they're drilling at right now. That company has a market cap of around 47 million, and their latest press release is for find in Mexico, though, so a bit south, but 14,371 grams per ton silver. So, just I think those guys also know what they're doing as well when they're looking for silver project. So I think, as Chris said, it is a discovery project. It's pretty exciting what they're going to find there. We talked about the charts. We are essentially at the lows. I'm not sure how much lower you can go, 2.5 cents here. Stocks just been ranging, and we talked about there hasn't been much happening until recently, where they've raised money and now they're going out and letting the market know that they're doing something with that money that they've raised. They have a catalyst. They are drilling. And the most important thing, as Chris mentioned earlier, is that the volume is now becoming more consistent. And I think that's the key, right? People are now beginning to pay attention to the story, and they realize, okay, this company is drilling. Reyna Silver is involved. The historical data looks good. And that's really what you need, when you have a stock that's basing in a range. Just consolidating like this, all it takes is that one catalyst to get the stock going. I would be watching this 4.5 cent level, which to me looks like it's a resistance level. But I mean, you get good news and you get a break, this stock can run up to the 19 or 20 cent level, which I don't know how many hundred times that is, but it could be a big move here, depending on the catalyst and the breakout. So exciting, consolidating. The company has the cash. Catalyst is upcoming. Now we just wait.
All right. So all that said, before I start singing zinc and lead, let's go back to Chris for how much of my $7,500 that I'm handing him is he going to spend on this day?
All right, Mel Torme. Well, I want to point out one thing that's interesting to me about the September and October side of things, and that is for all of the large volume trading that's been buying and selling, hasn't really moved the stock very much, which I think is an interesting indicator that people aren't just buying and selling willy-nilly. They're sucking up what's already out there in demand, right? So in a 2-cent stock, if you want to get out, you're going to be selling for 1.50 cents, which means there's going to be a big percentage-wise drop. So generally speaking, you want to sell only into what's the demand is already there. You don't want to suddenly take it from 2.5 cents down 0.5 cent and lose all your money. So the sell-offs have been all on one day, but they've basically been taking out existing demand at those lower and higher levels. Generally speaking, if 1.8 million shares of a stock are bought on a given day, it ain't just jumping from 2 cents to 3 cents. It's going from 2 cents to 6 cents. So it tells me there's a lot of people who are looking to suck this thing up who don't feel like there's any rush. They feel like they can take whatever's there at a good price on a given day. And if they come back tomorrow, there'll be more that they can take. At some point, that ends. At some point, either the selling is a lot harder than the buying, or the buying is a lot harder than the selling, and the thing starts to stretch. I want to be in this stock when that happens. So I don't want to suddenly send this thing to 7 cents and have it fall back the next day. I'd be looking to put in, let's say, 2.5 grand of your 7. And I'd be looking to buy in little pieces here and there. So just not alert anybody, not be the bully at the table. I don't want to be the guy that gets this to 10 cents. I want the next guy to get it to 10 cents. So I'd be just chipping away, making little buys. If it drops down, pick it up. If it stays level, take whatever's there for the day and accrue what you can while you can at 2.5 cents. Because when this thing does leave the station, and I've no indication that won't be the case, I know that they're actively working. But I also know that the company, let's be honest, the company itself has not been standing forward and saying, please let us do some CEO interviews, right? They have an arrangement with us. They have a marketing agreement with us, but they're being very super quiet. Now, this doesn't happen when guys are just trying to churn paper. They go loud as you want. Doesn't matter what the share price is. There's all sorts of promises. When guys go quiet at a low price, it means they're accumulating. So I wouldn't be surprised if those green days were guys that were insiders of the company or connected to insiders, just hoovering up whatever's cheap while they can get it before people start realizing what they've got. This is a thing that happens a lot. At some point, they'll come out of their hidey holes and they'll tell us what the window's going to look like. But for now, they or someone close to them is having a field day getting this thing ultra cheap. They're going to get right up to the point where they have to start reporting, I would think. If you look at 1.8 million, 1.8 million, 1.2 million, and 600K over 6 weeks, that's a lot of stock for a small market cap company. Someone is accruing, and my guess is that if a second person joins them, then we start to see this thing really, to quote a certain late 1980s movie, you're going to see some serious shit.
Wow.
How much money are you going to put in?
He said 2.5. He said 2,500.
Oh, I'm sorry.
2.5 with the rest on a hair trigger, right? If it has a day where you see a little bit more action, or a couple of days where it's steadily up, I would get on before that train leaves.
Hey, Galen, can you identify the movie, by the way?
No, sorry.
Right.
If this thing hits 88 miles per hour, you're going to see some serious shit.
Oh, it's the what's the bus movie? Go ahead. I never saw that.
Oh, it's Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Oh, Back to the Future. What's
About
what do you
87
got?
miles an hour.
What are you
I
spending?
think it's 88. Yeah, it all depends on how much I can afford to lose at this point. That's basically it. You have to be safe. Don't be a dummy. Don't be somebody that leverages your entire life on something that's a gamble. That's silly. Just figure out what you can afford to kiss goodbye to and put that in there, and then feel safe. Just watch whatever happen.
See what happens.
So
what do you do? 1,000?
Well, it's your money. It's not mine. So what do I care? I'm going to
Just
dump
throw it all in there.
I'm going to dump 7,500 in. I don't.
No,
if I don't
it's
miss
your money.
If I don't miss the 7,500, I'm throwing 7,500 in. I believe in the company.
All right, that's fair.
So that's on the premise that I can see it go by. That's all.
All right, but it's actually technically your money that I loaned. You have to approach it as if
It's less fun. If it's mine. So.
Well, if it's legitimately mine and you're not the guy spending and responsible for it, you guys would put 7,500 in every single time. Why wouldn't you?
Let's bleed the motherfucker dry.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, resource man.
Yep.
What are you doing?
Yeah, Rob, for this one, just, it is still early stage. I do like the story here and the fact that the volume is picking up. They do have a catalyst here. I'm going to play it a bit safe here. I'm going to put in 1,500 right now. And then I'm going to wait to see what the first drill results bring out, and then go from there. I was just doing the calculation, $2,500 at around 2.5 cents is about 100,000 shares. So that would be a pretty big volume. So I'm just going to play it a bit slow right now, do the 1,500, and then maybe accumulate from there.
All right. I like it. Lots of information on the Northern Lights today. And we are talking about a company that's based in Vancouver, as I believe it was Galen mentioned, Jason Bonson, who you will eventually hear from, I do believe, as Chris mentioned, when some news comes out, and we'll get a little info from them. But they're in Vancouver, and it's on the Canadian exchange at N as in Nancy, LR, Northern Lights Resources. Their past performances cannot guarantee future results, but then again, they have kind of slid down. So you're kind of hoping that
You're getting a deal right now.
You know,
You know what? And
damn right.
If they are quietly accumulating stock, they're going to be so pissed that we did this video. Oh my god!
Yeah, they're down low at the moment, and but we can't guarantee what we've told you will come true either, as the fellas just indicated by throwing in 2,500, 1,000, and 1,500 respectively.
What, Nibbles?
No, I went for 75, man. I'm
What's
dumping
that?
the whole
Oh, that's right. You threw all my money in.
Remember?
That's right.
That's right.
From now on, we're going to say it's your
Out of
money.
spite.
We're going to say it's your money. I'm just holding it.
Okay.
Yeah, no guarantees here. Do your homework and research, and we'll see you on the next. It's Northern Lights. We'll see you on the next investor roundtable from Equity Guru.
Also, Northern Dynasty.